Breaking It Down with Frank MacKay. This is 103.9 LI News Radio.
I'd like to welcome everyone back to Breaking It Down. Our special guest today is Ricky Byrd. Ricky is a singer, guitarist, songwriter. Used to play with Joan Jett, and now he's got his solo record out, and he's got a bunch of things out. Anyway, Ricky, thanks for joining
How are you,
us.
Frank?
Now, how long did you play with Joan Jett?
I played with Joan and the Blackhearts from 81 to like 92.
That's a long...
And then I went straight from that into a record and a tour with Roger Daltrey. And right after that, I went out with Ian Hunter from Not the Hoople. And straight after that, I tried to, I had a publishing deal with Sony, so I was a professional songwriter.
Yeah, nice.
Which means I was getting paid for it.
That's nice.
And I had that for a couple of years, and trying to figure out what I wanted to do solo. And then a lot of time went by, and I started a record, and between start and finish was a long time. And I actually went out with Southside Johnny for a little bit and played guitar with him. And then I finally got to my record, and I put it out. It came out February 5th of 2013. Mm-hmm. Called Lifer, Lifer.
Which describes you, that's for sure. You're a lifer in the music.
Well, that's hence the title.
Yeah.
So it's a straight up rock and roll record, a little bit of soul music. It's basically, since there's pretty much no music business anymore, and I paid for this myself, I decided to eat anything off the buffet table that I wanted. So I kind of made it a nod to the music that made me want to be this guy when I was 13 years old in the Bronx. So it's a pretty straight ahead rock and roll, kind of like, it's all original songs, but it's kind of in that Stonesy, Faces, a little Al Green, it's all in the same pocket, because all of the rock and roll guys that I loved all listened to Otis Redding and Al Green and Wilson Pickett. So it's in that Faces, Stonesy kind of thing with a bit of soul in it.
Well, you touch on a sore spot with a lot of people, and when you say there's no music business anymore, you're right. Everything's downloaded or stolen download. So it's a much different business now than what you started in. Now, fortunately, you had some years where the music business was really good, where the artists weren't getting completely ripped off. You said 81.
Well, I think that the artist was always getting completely ripped off. It's just a different way now. I mean, when there were serious record, 25 record labels or whatever, the deal was that they would give you an advance and you would do your record, and maybe they'd give you tour support, and you had to pay them back before you saw $1. And then it was time to do another record. So it was, unless you were one of the chosen few, like Aerosmith or the Stones or the Who, you were always trying to, recoup. And the record companies got lion's share. And you know what? They did, I don't know. I mean, some say, I guess if you succeeded, you loved them. But if you didn't, they gave up on you. I mean, when it all started, when records started and there were actual A&R guys, which they would sign you and they would, you'd have a couple of records to get where you were going to get. Even bands like the Faces or Humble Pie or even the Who, or the Stones, how many records did they put out before they actually started to click? And in fact, the Stones didn't make any money until they went with Alan, whatchamacallit, got him as the manager.
Alan Stein, no.
No. Oh, my God. My brain just went dead.
Yeah, he did the Beatles after...
Yeah. But, he ripped off the Stones, too, and there was a huge lawsuit. But, here's a deal. Like artists...
Alan Klein. Alan
Klein, right, exactly. Artists, we do this because we were kind of born with this. I mean, not anymore, because now it's a matter of, The Voice and American Idol and all that stuff. But now everybody wants to play guitar. But when I was a kid in school, in junior high school and high school, I was maybe one of 3 people that played an instrument, like a rock and roll instrument. And we would do things for nothing because this is what we do. It's in our veins. And then when you have people like us that would do things for nothing, there's people on the other side that, if you're good, they figure out a way to get you to do things for nothing. And, we were not smart. You don't read the fine print. You usually learn as you go. And it's funny, there's a great Keith talking about Alan Klein. He said about getting ripped off. He said, that was the price of an education. So, it's truly an education. And now that I have been through the mill a few times, I don't get ripped off anymore. But hence, there's no more music business. So that started with the digital age. So progress is what it is. I mean, you know, we wouldn't have all the great things in our lives, or some people call them the devil's playground, right? Like cell phones and this and that. If there wasn't progress. But with that came digital and satellite radio and, you know, internet and all this stuff. So what happened is it's kind of the Wild West, right? So our music's up on all these things, and the royalty rate is extremely low, and they're just figuring out how to collect the money from those things other than terrestrial radio. And so, you know, the end of the story is in the old days, even 10 years ago maybe, if you had 1,000 spins on a radio station, you know, I'm just making numbers up. Let's say you'd make $1,000. Let's just say I'm just making it up.
Right.
With 10,000 spins, $1,000. Now you might get a check for $38. You know,
yeah, it's changed. That's for damn sure.
It's just the way the laws went. The rate, and until the entire music artist community gets together and says, "Well, you know what? Screw you. We won't record any more stuff, and you could just play classic rock until you drop dead."
If you're just tuning in now, Ricky Byrd, recording artist and performer, Ricky Byrd is our very special guest. Ricky spent some time with Joan Jett, you know, actually many years with Joan Jett.
11 years, brother.
Yeah, well, let me ask you about that, and we're talking about the business. You had a situation that I always found unusual. Kenny Laguna was the manager, and he also owned Blackheart Records. What was that like? I mean, normally people would say that's a conflict, but did it work out well for you guys?
Well, I mean, we were on Boardwalk. You know, we were on, I think we were on Sony for a while, if I'm not, Epic or something. I don't remember. It was so long ago.
But it was a sub, right? It was a sub.
Yeah,
of
you know what?
Epic.
It's if you look behind the curtain, you'll find all kinds of stuff, you know? So it's the way the business works. It's the way every business works. People find ways to manipulate stuff.
You sound like you're not crazy about the business end of it.
Oh, no, the business is retarded, man. It's just a Pandora's box of thievery and greed. But with that said, I love nothing more. Like, for example, I've been going out to, you know, as you get older, there's less places to play unless you're in a touring band. And I'm a player, you know, I play guitar. So I started going out on Monday nights to a couple of blues places in the city, you know, and I hop on stage for one, and then I'll go get some pasta down on Houston Street, and then I'll go up to B.B. King's and go on stage with John Parrish here in New York City and just play a couple of songs, and I scratch the itch, you know. So
you love playing, you just can't stand the business. I mean, that's a lot of people are like that, and
but I'm saying that I love music.
Right, that's it.
So I called up Simon Kirk from Bad Company, and I called up my friend Amy Madden, who's a great bass player, and we actually played last night. You know, we played a rock and roll blues gig. Just no rehearsal. I just threw together 11 songs, and I was, you know, the tank was empty when I left the stage, and that's the part that was the reason I got into it in the first place. But, you know, whenever money's involved, there's always people with their hands in your pocket. And that's just the way it goes. It's the same in any business, man. It's in the garment industry. It's in the gasoline business. It's the housing business.
But it's more so. It's more so with the music business. You talk to a guy like Tommy James, who I've had on the show a couple of times. God, I mean, that guy got screwed. I mean, he was dealing with gangsters and, you know, the Morris Levy's of the world.
You know, we come to the table with nothing but our talent. But to get somewhere, you need some sort of a machine. I mean, now it's a whole different ballgame. But so the machine are the people that have the money. And sometimes in the old days, you know, you hear stories about some of the old crooners like Sinatra or this one or that one, and they would somebody would back them, you know, bankroll them to get their career started, and then they would be in debt to them for the rest of their careers unless they stood up to them.
Right.
And in the music business, there was the same stuff with Morris Levy, and in the early days of recording, you know, I always remember that story where one of the old blues guys went into one of these bankrollers' offices and said, "Where's my royalties?" And the guy said, "You see that Eldorado outside? That's your royalty." Yeah. You know, but that's the way it is, man. It's like we provide happiness and sadness and rock and roll and jazz, and I mean that's why we were put here. And there are people here to, you know, I'm not saying everybody's like that. There are people that have their heart in the right place and great people in the music business that supported music throughout the ages and, helped people along and helped artists along, but there's probably a lot more creeps.
Yeah. Ricky Byrd, by the way, if you're just all tuning in, is our special guest, and he's a very talented guy, singer, guitarist. His guitar work you've heard many, many times. And his latest album is, give the name again, Rick.
It's called Lifer.
Lifer, right. Oh, how can I forget that? I love that. I used to use that term all the time. I mean, you'd come across a guy who is, you could just look at him, you could see it in his eyes. The guy, or a gal for that matter, is going to be a lifer. And that means...
listen, when you're coming up with a title for a record, it's insane. It's like coming up with a title with a band. And I had a list of 100 freaking names, and I love to read, and I love reading about kind of like gangster history, like Lucky Luciano and Meyer Lansky and Murder Incorporated and all that stuff. And I think I was, if I'm not mistaken, I was reading a book about that stuff, and it just, this guy was a lifer. He was a criminal, but he was a lifer.
Right.
I mean, that's what he did. He couldn't do anything. He couldn't figure out a way to make an honest buck. And I said, you know what? I'm a lifer. I'm still playing music. I expect to be playing music when I'm 70, whether I'm sitting on a stool or what. And I thought it was a good title for the record. And I'll tell you what, I put the record out. I got incredible reviews. It was the number 10 coolest album in the world of 2013 on Little Steven's Underground Garage. And
That's
one
nice.
of the songs off the record, Things to Learn About Love, which I co-wrote with Southside Johnny, was the number one. It was the first coolest song of the world for 2014. So, when I started this record, I said to myself, I am not going to have any expectations. I'm just going to do a great job and do the record I've been waiting to do in my life. And, I put it out. I got great reviews. I got really cool airplay. I didn't even bother trying to get airplay on major stations. I mean, classic rock is classic rock, so they're going to play Bad Company, right? They're not going to play my new record because it's not classic rock yet.
It's such a hard market at this point. I mean, it's wow.
Well, I think rock and roll is gasping for air at this point, but everybody that heard the record or bought the record just fell in love with it because it's what you listened to when you were a kid, or even it's in its 80s, 70s. It's just rock and roll, man, straight up rock and roll. Greasy, cool, a lot of guitar playing. There's some horns. I got the Asbury Juke horns to play on some stuff. So I'm totally happy with the result of the record. But it's just hard to sell them. I mean, look, I can name 5 artists now. Here's the point: when major acts from 20 years ago are excited about selling 10,000 records in 2014, we got a problem.
Right.
And that's the way it is. It's just people are not. First of all, our demographic is at the age now where they have to pay for their mortgages and this and that, and I think the biggest thing is that there are really no record stores, right? There are maybe a few mom and pops around the country, and
there's so few. You can
you got your big chains, and the big chains aren't going to carry my record, So the deal is like if you're trying to sell, like if you went on a Saturday afternoon when I was a kid, it's like I was going to go to the local record store, right? So I went there to buy a record, and I went to go flip the albums, and even the CDs. Just like you go there for a few hours and you just see what you don't have and what you missed and who's got a new record out. Well, there's no place to go now. So, if you're trying to sell your record on Facebook and Twitter and Amazon and, it's on Amazon and it's on iTunes, and I sell it from my website, but there's 5 million records out there, right? Everybody, since freaking Pro Tools came out, everybody thinks they're an artist. But
do you have a Pro Tools setup?
I did. That's a whole other story, man. I lost it all in the Hurricane Sandy. But the thing is, if you're selling on Facebook, it's like Facebook is like this big kind of like people getting together to have coffee, right? So it's like trying to sell an album in a bake shop.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a place to sell music, but if somebody I sell quite a bit of records on Facebook, but people aren't on it to buy records, so you have to keep posting it, and it's such a pain in the ass. It's so much work to get a small return this day, but because you don't have a high overhead, because you put the record out yourself, you don't need to sell the amount of records you used to sell to break even or do another one.
See, that's the difference. We're speaking with Ricky Byrd, and for those of you who don't know his work, you probably heard his work. There's no question. whether it was with Joan Jett, Roger Daltrey, you said you did some work with. Ian Hunter, and a bunch of folks. And now his solo stuff is wonderful. And Ricky, you're touching on a point here, and the point is that people used to do shows to promote records. Now people put out records to get some shows or something. I don't know.
Well, interesting because I saw something today of Aerosmith saying, Steven saying, or maybe it was Joe that said it. There's no reason to do records anymore because we make more money playing shows and selling merchandise. And that's what it's come down to. And funny enough, the record companies found a way to, manipulate the numbers again. So now they have like this thing where they didn't take a part of your merchandise, or they didn't take your publishing, or they didn't take this. So because there's no other way to make money, if you want a record company, which there aren't many,
right?
They have a full circle, 360 deal or some crap like that.
Yeah, that's 360.
Where they take a piece of everything now. So, look, you got to make a decision. Do you want to do it yourself and sell less records, but you can maybe make the same amount of money because nobody's selling records really, unless you're Justin Timberlake or, some kind of Demi Lovato or some modern stuff. I think the days of rock stars are probably over for now. I mean, things come around.
It's cyclical.
All
things
my heroes
change.
are in their 70s, really, right? The Stones and the Who, and so we're probably at the end of one thing and the starting of something else. But one thing that can't be denied is people do not want to buy records anymore. They sit at home in front of their computer and they download a song from this, or they'll download a song from that, and that's just the way it is. I mean, I did a hard copy record, and it's also for sale digitally on iTunes and Amazon. But I did a hard copy because I took particular delight in writing liner notes. Because when I was a kid, I used to sit there and stare at the back of the album and read the liner notes, right?
Yeah, me too.
It's a thing of the past, So I wrote this really cool thing, and I dedicated it up. One of the songs, Rock and Roll Boys. If you go on YouTube and you go under Ricky Byrd and the Skeleton Crew, there's a cool video for Rock and Roll Boys, which I dedicated to Ian Hunter and all the bands that got me through my teenage years. And you could go to www.rickybyrd.com, and it'll lead you straight to the record. And I'm on Facebook and Twitter and all the stuff you got to be on. And don't get me wrong, man. I had a great career, and I have a great career. I got to do exactly what I wanted to do when I was 13 years old. I traveled the world a couple of times. I had a hit record with Jet. I got to do I got to play Who songs with Roger Daltrey, and I got to play All the Young Dudes and tour with Ian Hunter. I mean, I got nothing to complain about.
No, you have a good career, and you're having a good career, and you certainly have had a lot of the career that a lot of people just dream of achieving.
But this is my business,
Reminder that we are speaking to Ricky Byrd. We have about 3 more minutes with Ricky Byrd, and get his record. His record's called Lifer, and from what I hear, it's fantastic. And if it's anything like Ricky's past work with other bands, it's great.
Hey man, if you grew up on straight up rock and roll like the Stones and the Faces and that kind of stuff, and a little Otis Redding, you're gonna love the record because it's right in that path. But you know what? Let me talk about something really.
Please.
That I hold dear to my heart. I'm also sober 27 years.
Nice. Congratulations.
And,
that's impressive.
Yeah, well, in this lifetime it is.
Are you in the program, or can you talk about that?
I mean, I'm in recovery, yeah.
Okay, excellent. Congratulations.
Thanks. And so I have this thing called I actually do these great things, and you know what? As greasy as the music business can be, the stuff I do in recovery just is uplifting and just makes me feel like $1 million. I actually work with Sunrise Detox, and I go to detoxes in treatment centers up and down the East Coast, and we're going to spread out across the country. And I do this unplugged thing, and I also have a partner, Richie Supa, who's a great songwriter who co-wrote Amazing with Aerosmith. And we started this company, I guess you would say. And I go in and I play 4 or 5 songs to the patients and detoxes. They're coming right off the street, right? So they're detoxing from whatever they're on. And we wrote specific songs that have to do with addiction. And, I tell my story, and then, for fun, maybe at the end I'll play All of Rock and Roll or something if everybody wants to hear that. But I'll tell you, that's what I do most now. And we have a band. We have an all-star band called Tame the Beast. And
who's in that band?
Playing starting in September. We're going to be doing, and it's all-star kind of recover. I don't want to say recovery shows. I mean, that's what the message is. We're going to be raising money to maybe buy a bed in a treatment center or a detox and buy it for a year. And if somebody's in need to get into a detox or treatment center, they don't have insurance or they can't afford the treatment center, we will,
that's
we
excellent.
have a bed for a year.
Very nice. Very nice.
And we're going to do stuff about drug prevention. I mean, I'm very interested and very scared. I have a 12-year-old daughter, and drugs are rampant again. Heroin is back on the market.
Epidemic. It is epidemic.
Yeah. And you know what? It's in all the don't think it's in certain neighborhoods because it's everywhere, and prescription pills. So I try to do my best to try to help that. We got an all-star band with Liberty DeVito from Billy Joel's band, and Christine Ullman from the SNL band, Kazim Sultan from Utopia, Mark Stein from Vanilla Fudge, and I have a bunch of all-star special guests like Simon Kirk from Bad Co., and Bonnie Bramlett from Delaney and Bonnie, and Michael DeBar from Power Station, and Damon Johnson from Thin Lizzy, and Jeff Carlisi from 38 Special. So it's either people that are actually in recovery, like I am, and some of the others may be, or people that support recovery. And we're going to just do shows around the country. We have a Facebook page. It's right now it's called Recovery Squad, but we changed the name to Tame the Beast. And you follow us. I mean, there's probably listeners that are in recovery, and you could contact me and follow me, or come on my website. And
give your website again. The name of the album is Lifer. We're with Ricky Byrd, and we're running out of time. But just give your
www.rickybyrd.com.
You're a very talented dude, that's for sure, man.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks for being here. Let's keep in touch.